All right, party people, what's up? Welcome to your reading for the full moon in Scorpio, happening the 5th of May, 6th of May in the Southern Hemisphere, as well as the lunar eclipse. And so a lunar eclipse is what happens when the sun and the earth and the moon are all in direct alignment with each other, and the earth actually casts a shadow onto the moon in the full moon state. And so it's a very interesting time for things to percolate and be brought from ether into mind's eye to be prepared to be planted into fruition. And so it makes sense that it's happening in Taurus season. We're in seed planting season and the time for incubatory condensation before growth. And give yourself, I wrote this in my newsletter, and so if you're not part of my newsletter, drop a comment, please, in YouTube or Instagram or on Facebook. I wrote this in my newsletter that this is the time where we really want to go back or hold on to our dreams, because eclipses create this sort of cosmic expansion of sorts, where we have the opportunity to bring our dreams down into reality. And because we're still in Mercury retrograde, we're in this revisiting time, revisiting our dreams, revisiting our desires, revisiting our goals. It's really about allowing ourselves to get dreamy, excuse me, I have hiccups, about what we really want to bring down for this new earth and for our realities. So I am going to jump into the reading, and then I have a couple of announcements at the end. As always, I'm speaking to one color of the collective rainbow. If this reading feels like it resonates and it's for you, then it's meant for you. If you feel like you want to share it and there's someone else who might resonate with it, that would be wonderful, and I would seriously appreciate it. It would be lovely. And as always, I'm booking private readings. You can drop me a comment in YouTube or on Instagram. I read all of the comments that I receive. And you also don't have to watch this reading. You can just listen to it. And for those of you out there in the YouTube verse, if you are an ASL teacher or instructor, I am really interested in learning ASL. Chris Corsini is a great astrologer, and he does his astrological readings with ASL at the same time, and I would really, really like to be able to offer that. So if you are an ASL practitioner, or you're interested in training or trading long-term healings and readings and private coaching from me in exchange for teaching me ASL, I would love that. So just as a disclaimer there. But let's hop into this reading, full moon in Scorpio. Again, I'm not going to touch as much on the full moon because I wrote about this quite a bit in my newsletter. Which I will leave a link in the description box below if you want to join. You also get a free energy healing meditation if you sign up, so it's a win-win-win-win. But it's really a strong transformational time. And if you are a Scorpio or you know Scorpios, you know that they can be pretty sharp and pretty feisty, a lot of fire, a lot of sort of quick change. And this can actually be really fruitful when you're hoping to transform, because it means that they don't really get caught up in the like, oh, I hope all these details are right, or oh, but what about this person, or oh, I feel like I need to show myself in a certain way before I can transform. Scorpios just kind of do. And so while we're in this transformational phase with the lunar eclipse and the full moon, allow yourself, if you can, to get out of your head and get into your body and into your heart, and just let whatever that thing is, that version of yourself that you're ready to let go, just let it drop. And just see what's going to come of it. You don't have to have any plan in place, but if you can let it drop, that is going to be the single most effective change and transformation that you can create and give yourself for this year. So that being said, first card. Yeah, okay, we have a beautiful nurturing card. Just making sure that everyone can see it. So this is a reminder that we are in Taurus season. And Taurians are the nurturers. They are the grounding mothers of the planet. They are the reason we have gardens that grow, because they're the ones that are aware of the soil and the nurturing that is needed for seeds to grow. They're so in harmony with that. And so, especially with those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, this spring season, and again, the same applies for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere with this nurturing as you release. Can you give yourself a little bit more softness as we break the chrysalis and we move into the fire season? We move closer to summer, and we move into this beautiful fruition of what we've been working on all winter. You know, it's kind of like when you were a little kid and your parents would break out the roller skates or the chalk or whatever when it became spring and the sidewalk was dry. You know, often things were kind of crusty because they'd been in a box all winter. And so instead of being hard on yourself or mad at yourself about the fact that things aren't finely tuned right away, can you give yourself a little bit more nurturing as you move into this space of emergence? Give yourself that softness, because you giving it to yourself first is going to teach and show others how to give it to you as well. Okay. Fun. Okay, this is coming through on a political front. But again, when I talk about politics, I also mean internal politics. I mean relational politics. I mean larger scale politics. I know if you watch Pam Gregory's astrological stuff, I highly, highly recommend, if you're only going to watch one astrologer, watch Pam Gregory or Bracha Goldsmith. But really, the two of them, they know what they're talking about. They're also in their 70s. They've been doing this for a long time. And Pam talks a lot about political revolution and political sort of upset in this current transit and these current cycles. And so on a more personal level, yeah, I mean, how much can you throw the idea of who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to look like, how you're supposed to act, how you've always acted, how you think you respond because you've always responded that way, how you think you are in social settings, how you think you are at parties, how much of that can you absolutely launch out the window? A lot of the times we don't live to our full potential because we don't give ourselves the opportunity to ask what if. What if I started a revolution within myself? What if I lived a little bit more rebelliously from the character framework that I've created for myself? What if I allowed myself to live a little bit more daringly, or a little bit lighter, or a little bit more open? This is a really beautiful time to just give it a try. I'm trying this new thing where I don't do the ADHD brain thing and I jump around in sentences and try and finish the whole thing, so I'm working really hard on that. So can you be a rebel in comparison to the person that you think you've always been? That is a really beautiful question to pose yourself for this next cycle. And be conscious of the fact that we are in Mercury retrograde until May 14th. And so I'm not suggesting to like buy a house and start a new job and ditch your partner and start a new activity and expect to be successful at all of them. I'm talking about the internal politics with yourself. Can you challenge the ideas, the frameworks, the schemas, these things that you've created in your mind of how you think you're meant to be, and then rebel a little, be a little rebellious? Okay. One more. Okay, this is coming through on a global scale. And when I say that, I really mean these are your pebble interactions. So the people at the grocery store, or the people in traffic, or the people on the bus that you're with, or your aunt that you never see, whatever. These people that seem like just the pebbles in your universe. Can you be an ambassador of compassion? Can you be an ambassador of compassion to your boss that you don't really understand, but you see they're struggling and they can't really let go? Can you be an ambassador of compassion to the parent that you're judging in the grocery store because they're yelling at their kid? Can you be an ambassador of compassion with the people you see who have their faces glued to their phone, and who knows whether they are writing an email to try and save their marriage, or they are flipping through TikTok because they have nothing else to do to fill their lives? Can you embrace this more global feeling of compassion and flood your energy with compassion, flood your body with compassion, flood the planet with compassion? There is a lot out here that is tumultuous, and there's also always a raft. So can you lock yourself into the river and the boat of compassion for these next couple of weeks, for this next astrological transit, until we're out of Mercury retrograde, as we feel the energies of the lunar eclipse, and we really embody this feeling of how we want our world to be on a bigger scale? Bring in more compassion, less judgment, more understanding, less criticizing. And then as you apply that out to the world, can you apply that back to yourself as well? Can you be more compassionate with yourself in the process? Can you be more compassionate with yourself in the fact that sometimes things don't go in the order that you were hoping, or they're not as precise, or they're not as complete, or whatever? Really bring yourself into that compassionate state. And if you can start your day waking up and just telling yourself, I have compassion for myself, and I have compassion for the world, and I have compassion for those around me, and take note of how your days may feel a little bit different. So that is the reading for the full moon in Scorpio and the lunar eclipse. I also have a little bonus card that came through, so I'm going to read that in a second. And I've also started a Patreon account. So I am posting articles on medium.com about Starseed specifically and about energy healing. I'm writing a book on energy healing right now. I am working for myself as a healer and doing private readings. And I have started a Patreon account to support me in the work that I am doing. And in the Patreon account, I've started doing private readings for the month ahead that are not available on any other platform. They're not available on social media or anything else. I'm using a completely different deck that I don't usually use for everybody else, or even for other clients. I usually keep it private. And so I'm using a special animal deck for these private readings on Patreon. All my Patreon tiers are pay what you can, and so you can add a pay at any price and put in $1, or I think you can only pay $1 is the lowest, but pay whatever you want. Hop over to the Patreon page, see what's there. I'm building it slowly. I'm offering Q&As as well, and so if you're a starseed or an empath, or you're working on energy stuff, or you're a witch and you want to learn about rituals and how to open and close sacred space, etc., you can leave me a Q&A at my Patreon page as well. So hop on over there and check it out. I would love to have some patrons help support me in this journey as I'm leaping solo. And yeah, newsletter will be available for sign up below. What I put in on medium.com and other places, everything goes to my newsletter first. These videos go to my newsletter first as well. And so if you're part of my newsletter or part of Patreon, you're seeing these videos before everybody else is. And I think that's all I have. If you could hear the music in the background, those are my friends Dynasty Electric. Check them out on YouTube. They're great. And our bonus card is going to feel like a really strong heralding for a lot of you that we are very quickly moving towards this space where you feel free in yourself. This is really coming through as a message of a personal challenge or cycle that you've been working on, whether it's feeling more freedom in your body or feeling freedom at work or feeling freedom in your home space, whatever. This is a really positive heralding of what we're headed towards. You know, bring in the nurturing, bring in the rebellion, bring in the compassion, but know that we're headed towards this space of freedom in the coming months. And so if you can sink your teeth into that as we move into the final parts of Mercury retrograde, you will be able to feel the positive energy coming. So that's all I have for you folks. Take care of yourselves and blessings.